Hello and welcome, I'm Thomas Porteous and you're watching The World Report on NewsX World. Let's take a look at some of the top stories of the hour. Protesters gather in Minneapolis to demand federal immigration agents leave after a 37-year-old man was fatally shot by Border Patrol, intensifying local outrage. Governor Tim Walz calls on President Trump to withdraw the agents as demonstrations and political tension grow over the incident. Donald Trump urges Minnesota's governor and Minneapolis mayor to hand over criminal illegal aliens for deportation. State and federal officials offer conflicting accounts of events leading up to the deadly shooting. A massive storm leaves over 1 million households without power and forces more than 10,000 flight cancellations across the U.S. Officials warn of life-threatening conditions from Texas to New England as at least 3 storm-related deaths are reported. President Zelensky says a U.S. security guarantees document for Ukraine is 100% ready after talks with Washington and Moscow. Kyiv now awaits a signing date as Zelensky renews his push for EU membership by 2027. Meanwhile, over 1,300 apartment buildings in Kyiv remain without heating after Russian missile and drone attacks. Ukraine says a wave of strikes hits the energy grid, cutting out power to 1.2 million properties nationwide. Israel says it will allow a limited reopening of Gaza's Rafah crossing with Egypt. The announcement comes as Palestinians report at least 3 killed in Israeli attacks across Gaza. A ferry carrying more than 350 people capsizes off the Basilan in the southern Philippines, killing at least 7 people. The vessel is en route from Zamboanga to Jolo Island when the accident occurs after midnight. Bangladesh condemns India for allowing ousted ex-PM Sheikh Hasina to make her first public address since fleeing in 2024. Dhaka says the move insults the Bangladeshi people ahead of the country's first post-uprising election. We start this hour in the United States, and President Donald Trump has blamed the deaths of 2 Americans by federal agents in Minneapolis on Democratic leadership in cities and states refusing to comply with his ongoing immigration crackdown. At the same time, Democratic ex-presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton have spoken out against the fatal shooting of a 37-year-old nurse in Minneapolis, the second person to be shot dead by federal immigration officers in the city this month. Obama and his wife, Michelle, described the killing of Alex Pretti as heartbreaking and a wake-up call to every American regardless of party. Bill Clinton joined the call in a post on X, saying the U.S. is facing a historic moment that will shape it for years to come. He also urged Americans to speak out and show that the U.S. still belongs to we the people. Meanwhile, Minnesota's Democratic Governor Tim Walz has demanded that U.S. President Donald Trump pull untrained federal immigration agents out of the state after the fatal shooting. Let's listen in to what the Minnesota governor had to say on the issue.
Trump, what is the plan? What do we need to do to get these federal agents out of our state? You thought fear, violence, and chaos is what you wanted from us, and you clearly underestimated the people of this state and nation. We are tired, but we're resolved. We're peaceful, but we'll never forget. We're angry, but we won't give up hope. And above all else, we are clearly unified. We believe in law and order in this state. We believe in peace. And we believe that Donald Trump needs to pull these 3,000 untrained agents out of Minnesota before they kill another person. And we're up here telling another story of a Minnesotan just trying to live their life without the interference.
Joining us now to discuss the ongoing situation in Minneapolis is Major General Sudhakar Ji, a senior strategic and international affairs expert, joining us live from Jaipur. Thank you very much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Of course, this comes after the killing of 2 people over the past month in the city of Minneapolis, a particularly protest-sensitive city. President Trump has blamed the Democratic city and state leaders for the deaths during the immigration crackdown. How credible is that argument, both politically and factually?
Thomas, good morning. Thank you for taking me for the show. And the occasion of the Republic Day of India, I extend a very hearty welcome and greetings to one and all world over. And such a thing is being discussed through your channel is travesty of justice. Here is a superpower, the oldest democracy in the world, whose rule of law is supposed to be taken as a template or standing operating procedure, as a methodology and a means to enforce law on the land. Look at the example, what is happening in Minneapolis. I have been to Minneapolis. I understand that it's dominated by, majorly by the Democrats. But the fact of the matter remains that there are some golden principles, whether it is the security forces, the military, or the law enforcement agencies. There is a principle known as minimum force, application of minimum force by the security forces who are supposed to ensure law enforcement. Number 2, if the minimum force when you talk about, even if the firearm is to be used, firstly it is supposed to be scaring them, and they're supposed to warn them. And even if they don't respond to the desire and the requirement of the security norms, then you threaten them to fire below the knee, to incapacitate. You don't shoot people like this. This is the most inhuman activity which is happening. It keeps on claiming human rights, and any such thing happening in the country, in India and elsewhere in global south, everything becomes a human right violation. So what is this happening in America? I am raising a finger and raising a question. Is this the right kind of example for a superpower, which is the oldest democracy, with regard to the rule of law? He cannot escape such kind of accountability by passing on the buck to Democrats. Democrats, look at the video clips that are being shown in the TV, in your channel.
Exactly. Major General G, of course, the two sides are conflicting. We have Donald Trump saying that the agent was acting in self-defense, and in some instances, some Trump officials slamming the deceased. However, then you have the governor of the state, of course, a Democrat, along with the mayor and other officials of Minneapolis and Minnesota, countering that, of course, saying that the ICE agents were acting irresponsibly, that they're untrained. What does this say about the political polarization of America right now, that it stems from right to the bottom all the way to the top in the way in which the infighting is happening?
Very brilliant question, Thomas. Very sharp and brilliant question you have raised. This is the need of the hour. People like you must raise these questions. You see, America, as on today, I'm sorry I should not call out this way, because, but the fact is fact. It is a polarized society. There is a, what should I say? It is a political civil war. Civil war in progress. That has to be understood. What I mean to say is that the mayor and the governor of Minneapolis, they are right, because the ICE members, they are demonstrating. Through the video clips, I can make out this is the high-handedness. I have been in military for 38 years. I know how to handle such kind of a situation. We have operated with the security enforcement agencies. This is not the way. This is the black and white demonstration of how not to do a thing. This is definitely is going to go a long way against Donald Trump and the Republicans. He is heading for some very serious trouble if he doesn't make any amends. As a well-wisher of Donald Trump and Republicans, I would say it's about time that America introspects they look within as to are they doing the right thing, or simply because the ICE people have actually killed two people and one more you are saying now, then does it mean, is it right to defend the rule of law in this manner in the land which is supposed to be pioneer and leader in democratic norms? This is not the way, Thomas. I'm sorry, I must call it out loudly. It has to stop. Otherwise, the people of America must come onto the street and demand for the rule of law. This is not going to go on in this manner. Back to you, Thomas.
Okay. Major General Sudhakar, thank you very much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to talk to you here on NewsX World. Thank you very much for taking the time. We now turn to some further news from the United States in terms of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says a key security guarantees document from the United States is now fully ready and waiting to be signed. Speaking during a visit to Vilnius, Lithuania, Zelensky said Kyiv is waiting for Washington to confirm the date and place for the signing. He stressed that US security guarantees are the top priority for Ukraine. Zelensky said once the document is signed, it will go to the US Congress and the Ukrainian Parliament for ratification. His comments come after weekend talks in Abu Dhabi, where Ukrainian and Russian negotiators met for the first time with US mediators. The talks did not produce a deal, but all sides agreed to continue discussions next week. Zelensky said progress was made on a 20-point US peace framework, though key differences remain. He made it clear Ukraine will not give up its territory while the United States continues efforts to find a compromise. Let's listen in.
Для нас гарантії безпеки, передусім, це двосторонні гарантії безпеки з Сполученими Штатами Америки. Документ готовий на 100%. Ми очікуємо від партнерів готовності дати і місця, коли ми його підпишемо. А потім документ буде йти в ратифікацію в Конгрес Сполучених Штатів Америки і в український парламент, згідно наших домовленостей. Другі гарантії безпеки для України – це європейські гарантії безпеки, це коаліція охочих і, найголовніше, членство в Європейському Союзі.
Joining us now is Peter Cardillo, a chief economist from Spartan Capitals in New York. Thank you very much, Peter, for speaking to us on this development. Of course, Peter, the Trump administration has taken quite a different approach to this conflict to the Biden administration. There is long-term skepticism about aid to Ukraine from Donald Trump. Is this document more likely to be a watered-down or reinterpreted version of Article 5 or of the NATO treaty, or something else entirely?
I think it's probably going to be something else entirely. I think, the fact that that they are talking, they're going to meet next week is a positive sign. Eventually, there will be some sort of agreement between Ukraine and Russia, and after 4 years of a bitter conflict, I think President Trump in this particular case is really pressing both sides for a peace deal, and I think it's about to happen.
Peter, do you think Donald Trump is indeed in support of these security guarantees? Of course, many have seen the fact that Donald Trump could be possibly warming to Moscow and Vladimir Putin over his second tenure as president. You don't see any last-minute scuffles or altercations, do you? What do you think?
Well, I think that he basically told Zelensky that the United States would be there for their security. So I don't think he's going to go back on his word on that. Is the deal going to favor Russia more than the Ukraine? Most likely. I suspect that Zelensky is going to have to give up some territory, not all, but certain parts that were captured or where Ukraine is in power. He'll have to give that up. And I think that's part of the deal. So it'll be watered down, but I think the United States will be there for their security.
Peter, of course, this is one of Donald Trump's biggest challenges that he's seen so far in his second tenure as president. We've seen previous ceasefires that he's claimed to have solved fall apart. However, of course, extra effort is going into this one. And do you think that Donald Trump is laying the foundations for a successful peace deal?
I think so. Look, it's it's an economic strategic situation as well. Will he favor Putin over Zelensky? Most likely. But at the end, there'll be some sort of a peace deal. Look, if it doesn't happen the way things are going now, Russia is likely to go to the very end, and who knows, maybe take all of the Ukraine. That's a possibility. With the United States not supporting from a financial perspective, that complicates the situation for Zelensky.
Peter, do stay with us as we move on to further news coming out of the United States. And in a sharp escalation, the US is threatening to impose 100% tariffs on Canadian imports if Ottawa proceeds with a new trade deal with China. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent reaffirmed the warning, echoing President Trump's earlier comments. The trade deal between Canada and China involves reduced tariffs on canola exports and a boost to Chinese electric vehicle imports. Bessent emphasized that such a deal could open the door for Chinese goods flooding the US market. Trump also criticized Canada's growing ties with China, even joking about their national sport, ice hockey, being affected. This tension signals a further strain in US-Canada relations, which are already in the midst of a trade war. Peter joins us once again to discuss this. Peter, of course, Canada is one of the United States' top trading partners. How have you analysed the events, of course, leading from Carney's visit to Beijing to, of course, the Canadian Prime Minister's speech at the World Economic Forum, and now this new tariff threat from Donald Trump?
Yeah, well, I think it's just a threat. I don't think he's going to impose 100% on Canada. And I think it's also imperative to realize that Carney, the Prime Minister, said that Canada is not pursuing any free trade deal with China. Mm-hmm. Now, last week they did have some deals that they made, which, by the way, Trump basically said good for Carney. But I guess he interpreted as if they were going to take it one more step further. And that's when he threatened with 100% tariffs. You mentioned that Secretary Benson affirmed what Trump said. Of course, he's part of the administration. He has to do that. But I think at the end, they're our neighbors. They're one of our largest trading partners. I think a lot of this is just rhetoric, political rhetoric. And at the end, I think there'll be solutions found. So while it might have while it might inject some fear in the financial markets, I think that it's just noise rather than facts.
Peter, as an economist yourself, how do you analyse how Carney has gone about dealing with Donald Trump and the economic situation that he is, of course, faced? Of course, Carney entered office facing tariffs from the United States and campaigned on a mandate of standing up to Donald Trump. Economically, do you think he's done that in a way that will put Canada on the upside?
For the moment, I think he's having a hard time. He certainly doesn't want 100% tariffs placed on his country. If they do, it would be disastrous for the Canadian economy. So I think, again, it's political rhetoric. And I think that Trump knows that. And so I think, he's just trying to portray that there's an alternative. Will that alternative come about? I don't think so.
Peter Cardillo, thank you very much for taking the time in joining us. It was always a pleasure to talk to you. We now turn over to the Indo-Pacific for our next story. And a ferry carrying 342 passengers and 27 crew members sank in the southern Philippines, leaving at least 15 people dead and 316 people have been rescued. The accident occurred as the passenger vessel MV Trisha Crestin 3 was en route to Jolo in Sulu province after departing from Zamboanga. Earlier in 2023, more than 30 people were killed when a fire ripped through a ferry in the southern Philippines. Meanwhile, a Philippine Coast Guard commandant has responded. Let's take a listen in.
The search and rescue operation is ongoing, but what I can say is the ship is not overloaded. It has a maximum passenger capacity of 350, and the actual actual passengers on board, as declared by the master, is 332. The Coast Guard has immediately acted on it as soon as we received the distress call from the Sea Marshal on board.
US climber Alex Pretti made headlines after scaling Taiwan's Taipei 101 skyscraper without any ropes. The daring free solo climb took him an hour and a half, drawing a huge crowd of supporters. Though nervous at first, onlookers quickly trusted Pretti, known for his careful preparation. Upon reaching the top, he called it sick and admired the stunning view of Taipei. The climb had full support from both Taipei 101 and the local government. Pretti, who had once considered attempting the climb without permission, ultimately chose to respect the building's management and their team. Taipei 101, which once held the title of the world's tallest building, has been the site of previous climbing stunts, including one by Alain Robert in 2004. Some news from the tech world now, and Samsung Electronics is set to begin production of its next generation high bandwidth memory or HBM4 chips next month. These chips will be supplied to NVIDIA. Samsung shares rose by 2.2%, although the exact number of chips Samsung plans to supply to NVIDIA has not yet been disclosed. Samsung has been working hard to catch up with its rival SK Hynix, which is a main supplier of advanced memory chips for NVIDIA's AI accelerators. Last year's supply delays affected Samsung's earnings and share prices. According to the report, Samsung has passed qualification tests for HBM4 with both NVIDIA and Advanced Micro Devices, and shipments will begin next month. Adding further, Samsung is set to announce its fourth quarter earnings on Thursday, when it is expected to share details of HBM4 orders. Well, that's all that we have time for this hour. Keep watching NewsX World for more international updates.